The engagement ring felt heavier in my pocket than it should have. 3 months of overtime at the pharmaceutical consulting firm, saving every penny, and here I was standing in Selah's pristine kitchen while she delivered the news that would change everything. "I can't bring you to Christmas, Kai. My ex Asher is coming, and it'll be awkward." Selah Merrick stood there in her designer sweater, looking like she'd just announced the weather. Her blonde hair was perfectly styled, her makeup flawless, even at 8 in the morning. Everything about her screamed success, from her manicured nails to her expensive perfume. She was a wealth manager at Trevan Financial, the kind of woman who made 6 figures and knew it. "Awkward," I repeated, tasting the word like spoiled milk. "Awkward for who exactly?" She turned away, busying herself with her coffee machine. "My parents invited him. They've known him for years, and with everything that happened between us before, they think it's better if we keep things simple this year." The gifts were already in my truck. Thoughtful presents I'd spent weeks selecting. A vintage wine collection for her father, who mentioned his interest in Bordeaux during our last dinner. A first-edition cookbook for her mother, who collected them obsessively. I'd even wrapped them in expensive paper, the kind Selah always used. "Simple," I said. "Right. And where does that leave me?" "We can celebrate after the holidays, just the 2 of us. It'll be more romantic that way." The ring box pressed against my leg through my jeans. I'd planned the whole thing. Christmas morning, her parents watching, the perfect family moment. 3 years together, and this was how she wanted to handle meeting my future in-laws officially. "Who's Asher again?" I asked, though I already knew. Asher Trevan, her ex-boyfriend from college. Also her boss's son. Also the guy whose family owned the financial firm where she worked. "Just someone from my past. It's complicated, Kai. You wouldn't understand." That stung more than it should have. The assumption that I, a federal compliance consultant who'd worked his way up from nothing, couldn't grasp the complexities of her privileged world. "Try me," I said. She finally turned around, and for a moment, I saw something flicker across her face. Fear? Guilt? It was gone before I could identify it. "He's going through a difficult time. His father thinks family gatherings might help. My parents agreed to include him because they feel sorry for him." "And you couldn't mention this before today?" "I only found out last night. Please don't make this harder than it already is." I pulled out my phone and showed her the photo I'd taken of the wrapped gifts in my truck bed. "I bought your parents presents, spent half my savings on them." Something shifted in her expression. "That's sweet, but maybe you should return them. We can pick out something together later." The dismissal in her voice was like a slap. These weren't random gifts grabbed from a store shelf. I'd researched, planned, invested time and money into making a good impression, and she wanted me to return them like unwanted merchandise. "Right," I said. "Wouldn't want to make things awkward." I headed for the door, but her voice stopped me. "Where are you going?" "To return some gifts, apparently." "Kai, don't be like this. You're being dramatic." Dramatic. The woman who color coordinated her closet by season thought I was being dramatic. "Have a great Christmas, Selah. Say hi to Asher for me." I left the gifts on her guest room bed. Let her explain those to her parents. Let her figure out what to do with the evidence of my thoughtfulness, my planning, my stupid assumption that I mattered enough to be included in her family's holiday. The drive back to my apartment gave me time to think. 3 years of dating, and I'd never met her parents properly. Always excuses, always complications. Her world and mine never quite meshed, according to her. She lived in the upscale part of town. I lived in a converted warehouse downtown. She drove a BMW. I drove a 10-year-old Ford. She went to charity galas. I went to boxing matches at the local gym. But I'd thought we were building something real. Thought the differences made us stronger, more interesting. Thought wrong, apparently. My phone buzzed with a text from Jules, my sister. "How'd the proposal go?" I stared at the message for a long time before typing back, "Postponed indefinitely." The ring box sat on my kitchen counter for the rest of the day, mocking me. 3 months of overtime, of skipping meals and avoiding expenses, all for a moment that would never come. At least not the way I'd imagined it. By evening, curiosity got the better of me. I opened Instagram and searched for Selah's account. She'd posted a photo 2 hours ago, herself and a tall, dark-haired man in an expensive suit, arms around each other at what looked like a Christmas party. The caption read, "Reunited with old friends. Warhandaha Christmas joy, chatri family time." The location tag made my stomach drop. Lakeside rental, Pine Ridge, a 2-hour drive from here. She wasn't even in town for this awkward family gathering. She was at some private party with Asher, playing happy couple for the camera. I screenshot the image before I could stop myself. Something about the way they looked together, the easy intimacy, the expensive backdrop. This wasn't a last-minute family obligation. This was planned, orchestrated, deliberate. My phone rang. Jules. "You sound terrible," she said without preamble. "What happened?" "Selah disinvited me from Christmas, said her ex was coming and it would be awkward." "Her ex? The rich boy?" "That's the one, Asher Trevan." "And you believed that garbage?" I told her about the Instagram post, the location tag, the obvious lie about family obligations. "She's playing you, Kai. Has been for months, probably." "You don't know that. I know you, and I know women like her. You're the stable boyfriend, the one she brings around when she needs to look respectable. But when it's time for the real stuff, the important stuff, she goes back to her own kind." The words hit harder because they rang true. How many times had Selah canceled plans at the last minute? How many social events had I been excluded from? How many times had she made me feel like I was lucky just to be included in her life? "So what do?" I asked. "You find out what's really going on, and then you decide if you want to keep being her backup plan." After we hung up, I stared at the Instagram photo again. Something nagged at me beyond the obvious betrayal. The background looked familiar, like I'd seen it before. Not the rental house, but something else, something important. Then it hit me. The view from the window in the background, the specific angle of the lake, the distinctive rock formation on the far shore. I'd seen that exact view in a federal briefing document 3 months ago. Pine Ridge was supposed to be a secure location, off limits to civilian photography, the kind of place where federal witnesses went to disappear. My hands shook as I opened my laptop and pulled up the encrypted files from my consulting work. There it was, buried in a witness protection briefing. Lakeside Rental, Pine Ridge. A safe house used for high-value federal witnesses. Selah had just posted my location to social media, and I was supposed to be invisible. The realization hit me like a freight train. I wasn't Kai Dornell, pharmaceutical consultant from Ohio. That man had ceased to exist 2 years ago when I'd testified against Meridian Biotech in the largest pharmaceutical fraud case in federal history. I was supposed to be David Chen now, living quietly in this mid-sized Michigan town, working a boring compliance job, dating a nice local woman who knew nothing about my past. Except Selah wasn't just any local woman, and this wasn't a coincidence. My hands trembled as I opened the secure phone hidden in my bedroom closet. The one I was supposed to use only for emergencies? This qualified? Deputy Marshal Rebecca Santos answered on the first ring. "Chen, what's wrong?" "My location's been compromised. Social media post, tagged at Pine Ridge." Silence. Then, "How do you know about Pine Ridge?" "Because my girlfriend just posted a photo from there with her ex-boyfriend, the same girlfriend who disinvited me from Christmas and lied about where she was going." "Stay put. Don't contact anyone. We're sending a team." "Rebecca, there's more. Her ex is Asher Trevan. His family owns Trevan Financial." Another pause, longer this time. "The same Trevan Financial that handles investment accounts for Meridian executives?" "The very same. We'll be there in 2 hours. Pack light and stay away from windows." The line went silent. I sat in my darkened apartment, mind racing. 3 years with Selah. 3 years of careful relationship building, of slowly integrating into my new identity, of believing I'd found something real in this artificial life. How long had she known? From the beginning? Had every moment between us been a lie? I started packing, muscle memory from 2 years ago kicking in, essential documents, cash, 1 change of clothes. The engagement ring went into my pocket out of habit, though I couldn't say why. My laptop chimed with a new email. The sender made my skin crawl. Trevan The subject line read, "Regarding your girlfriend." Against every instinct screaming at me to delete it, I opened the message. "David, or should I say Dr. Marcus Webb. Selah sends her regards. She's been very helpful in locating you, though I suspect she doesn't fully understand why. You cost my family's business partners quite a bit of money with your testimony. They're eager to discuss compensation. You have 48 hours to respond, or certain federal authorities will receive very detailed information about witness protection protocols. Don't disappoint us again. A." The email included 3 attachments. The first was a photo of Selah and me at dinner last week, taken from across the restaurant with a telephoto lens. The second was a copy of my original witness protection paperwork, complete with my new identity details. The third made my stomach turn. It was a photo of a young girl, maybe 4 years old, with Selah's blonde hair and bright blue eyes. The timestamp showed it was taken 3 years ago. The location data embedded in the file showed it was taken at Trevan family estate in Connecticut. Selah had a daughter she'd never mentioned, never acknowledged, never brought into our relationship in any way, a daughter who looked exactly like her and was photographed at Asher's family property. The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. Selah hadn't just been dating me while maintaining contact with her ex. She'd had his child, and somehow that connection had been used to find me. My phone buzzed with a text from Selah. "We need to talk. Can you come to Pine Ridge? It's important." I stared at the message, fury building in my chest. The audacity of it. After posting my location online, after 3 years of lies, she wanted to talk. I typed back, "About your daughter?" The response came immediately. "How do you know about Emma?" Emma. The child had a name. The child Selah had hidden from me for 3 years while we built what I thought was a real relationship. Same way I know about Asher's blackmail operation. Same way I know you've been feeding him information about me. Same way I know you've been wearing recording devices. This time, the pause was longer. When she responded, I could almost hear the panic in her text. "It's not what you think. I can explain everything. Please come to Pine Ridge. Alone. So you can finish the job? So I can keep you alive. They have Emma, Kai, they have my daughter." The admission hung there on my screen like a confession. Not just that she had a daughter, but that the daughter was being used as leverage. That Selah had been as trapped in this web as I was, just from a different angle. My secure phone rang again. Santos. "We've got a problem," she said without preamble. "Trevan Financial just transferred $40 million through shell companies linked to Meridian executives. This isn't just about finding you anymore. They're moving money, fast. Selah's daughter is involved. They're using her as leverage. The girlfriend has a kid? With Asher Trevan. She's been compromised this whole time, Rebecca. They've been using her to get to me and using her daughter to control her. Where's the child now?" "I don't know, but Selah wants to meet at Pine Ridge. Says she can explain everything." "Absolutely not. That's obviously a trap. Maybe, or maybe she's trying to get her daughter back and needs help." "Webb, you're thinking with your heart instead of your head. This woman betrayed your location to a criminal organization. Whatever her reasons, she's compromised. So was I, once upon a time. You still gave me a chance to make it right." Santos sighed. "The Meridian executives you testified against. 3 of them disappeared from federal custody last week. We think Trevan's organization helped them escape. This is bigger than witness protection now. This is about a $40 million fraud scheme and multiple fugitives." The scope of it was staggering. My testimony 2 years ago had been about pharmaceutical price fixing and false research data. But if Trevan Financial was moving money for Meridian executives, and if they'd somehow helped federal prisoners escape, then this had evolved into something much more dangerous. "What about Selah's daughter?" "If she exists, and if she's really being used as leverage, then we'll handle it through proper channels. But you don't go anywhere near Pine Ridge. You don't contact the girlfriend again. You wait for extraction and let us sort this out." "And if they hurt the child while we're sorting it out?" "That's not your responsibility." But it felt like it was. 3 years of believing I was building a life with Selah. 3 years of thinking I'd found something real in this constructed identity. If she'd been forced into this situation, if her daughter was being threatened, then maybe we were both victims of the same criminal organization. Or maybe I was still being played, still thinking with my heart instead of my head, just like Santos said. I looked at the engagement ring sitting on my kitchen counter. 3 months of overtime, 3 months of planning, 3 months of believing in a future that had never been real. My phone buzzed again, another text from Selah. 2 hours, Pine Ridge. Come alone or they'll hurt Emma. I have proof of everything, bank records, recordings, transfer documents. Enough to bring down Trevan Financial and get your life back, but only if you help me get my daughter back first. The bait was perfect. Proof of the conspiracy, a chance to reclaim my real identity, justice for the crimes committed against both of us. All I had to do was walk into an obvious trap. I looked around my apartment at the life I'd built as David Chen, modest, quiet, safe, everything Dr. Marcus Webb's life hadn't been. But it was also hollow, constructed, temporary, a placeholder existence while I waited for something real to begin. Maybe it was time to stop waiting. I picked up the engagement ring and slipped it into my pocket, not because I planned to use it, but because it represented something I'd believed in, something I'd thought was worth fighting for. If Selah's daughter was real, if she was really in danger, then maybe there was still something worth saving from the wreckage of the last 3 years, even if it meant walking into a trap, even if it meant risking everything I'd built as David Chen, even if it meant facing the possibility that Dr. Marcus Webb had never really disappeared at all. Pine Ridge looked different in daylight, less like a romantic lakeside retreat, more like what it really was, a secure facility designed to keep people hidden from the world. The rental house sat on a bluff overlooking the water, isolated and easily monitored. I'd driven the 2 hours despite Santos's explicit orders, despite every rational thought screaming that this was a mistake. But the photo of the little girl with Selah's eyes had haunted me during the entire drive. Selah's BMW was parked in the circular driveway along with a black SUV I didn't recognize. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I could see movement inside the house. At least 3 people, maybe more. My phone had been buzzing constantly with calls from Santos, but I'd turned it off an hour ago. Whatever happened next, I was on my own. I parked behind Selah's car and walked to the front door. It opened before I could knock. "Thank you for coming," Selah said. She looked terrible. Her usually perfect hair was disheveled, her makeup smeared, her expensive clothes wrinkled. This wasn't the poised woman who disinvited me from Christmas. This was someone who'd been pushed to her breaking point. "Where's your daughter?" "Safe. For now." She stepped aside to let me enter. "Asher's in the living room. He has documents you need to see." The living room was dominated by a massive stone fireplace and windows overlooking the lake. Asher Trevan sat in a leather chair, laptop open on the coffee table in front of him. He was younger than I'd expected, maybe 35, with the kind of casual confidence that came from never having to worry about money. "Dr. Marcus Webb," he said without getting up. "Finally. Do you know how much trouble you've caused my family's business?" "Not as much as you're about to cause yours," I said. He smiled. "Sit down. Let me show you something interesting." Against my better judgment, I sat on the couch across from him. Selah remained standing by the windows, arms wrapped around herself like she was cold. Asher turned the laptop screen toward me. It showed a bank transfer record. $40 million moved from Trevan Financial to a series of offshore accounts over the past 6 months. Impressive, isn't it? Your testimony against Meridian Biotech created quite an opportunity for us. When pharmaceutical companies face federal investigation, their stock prices become very volatile, very predictable, very profitable for anyone with advanced knowledge of regulatory actions. You've been trading on insider information, and we've been providing investment guidance to our clients based on comprehensive market analysis. His smile widened. The fact that our analysis included advanced knowledge of federal investigations is simply good research. That's securities fraud. That's capitalism. But here's where it gets interesting for you, Dr. Webb. Your girlfriend has been instrumental in our success. I looked at Selah, who was staring out at the lake. How? Asher clicked to another screen. This one showed a series of recorded phone calls, time-stamped over the past year. Selah has been providing us with information about your consulting work, federal investigation timelines, target companies, expected announcement dates. Very valuable information for investment planning. I never told her about my work, I said. You didn't have to. The recording devices she wore during your dates picked up your phone calls, your laptop audio, your conversations with colleagues. Very sophisticated equipment, very clear recordings. The betrayal hit me like a physical blow. Every intimate moment, every private conversation, every detail of my carefully constructed new life had been recorded and analyzed for profit. Show him the rest, Selah said quietly. Asher clicked to a new screen. This one showed custody documents for Emma Trevan, age 4. Legal guardianship awarded to Asher Trevan and his parents following the mother's inability to provide adequate care. Selah signed over custody of our daughter 3 years ago, Asher explained, in exchange for a very generous settlement and a job at our firm. The arrangement has worked well for everyone involved. Except Emma, Selah said, finally turning from the window. Except our daughter, who barely knows me because you've kept her away from me for 3 years. The custody arrangement was your choice, Selah. You needed money, we needed cooperation. Very simple business transaction. I was beginning to understand the real scope of the manipulation. Selah hadn't just been compromised by threats to her daughter. She'd been financially coerced into giving up custody, then blackmailed into cooperation using her limited visitation rights as leverage. What do you want from me? I asked. Simple. You're going to testify again. This time, you're going to recant your previous testimony against Meridian Biotech. You're going to claim you fabricated evidence, that you were motivated by personal grudges against your former colleagues. You're going to destroy the federal case and restore Meridian's stock price. That'll never work. The evidence is too solid. The evidence came from you. If you discredit yourself, the entire case collapses. Meridian executives get released, stock prices recover, and our clients make substantial profits on their recovery investments. And if I refuse? Asher clicked to another screen. This one showed federal witness protection protocols, including safe house locations, identity procedures, and handler contact information. We release this information to certain interested parties, the same parties who lost substantial money because of your previous testimony, the same parties who have very long memories and very creative approaches to problem solving. The threat was clear: cooperate or face assassination by the criminals I'd helped convict. There's a third option, Selah said. Both Asher and I looked at her. We expose everything: the insider trading, the custody manipulation, the witness intimidation, all of it. Asher laughed. With what evidence? Everything we've done is technically legal. Aggressive, but legal. Not everything, Selah said. She pulled a small recording device from her pocket. I've been recording our conversations for months, Asher, including the ones where you explicitly described the insider trading scheme, including the ones where you threatened to permanently separate me from Emma if I didn't cooperate, including the one we just had. The confidence drained from Asher's face. That's inadmissible. You can't record someone without consent. I can in Michigan. One-party consent state. And I'm definitely one party to our conversations. I felt a surge of hope. You've been building a case against him. For 6 months. Ever since I realized you weren't just David Chen, pharmaceutical consultant. Ever since I figured out that Asher had manipulated me into a relationship with a federal witness for insider trading purposes. Asher stood up, his casual confidence replaced by barely controlled anger. You have no idea what you're doing, Selah. My family has resources you can't imagine. Lawyers, politicians, federal contacts. You'll never make these recordings stick. Maybe not. But I don't need them to stick in court. I just need them to stick in the media. I've already sent copies to 3 financial journalists and a federal prosecutor I trust. If anything happens to me, to Emma, or to Marcus, they get released automatically. The room fell silent except for the sound of wind against the windows. Outside, snow had begun to fall, dusting the lake and surrounding trees with white. What do you want? Asher asked. Full custody of Emma. Immediate resignation from Trevan Financial. Complete immunity for Marcus, including relocation assistance and identity protection. And you shut down the insider trading operation permanently. That's impossible. Then we'll see how your family's business survives federal investigation and media scrutiny. I'm sure your clients will be very understanding when they learn their investment advisor was committing securities fraud. Asher looked between Selah and me, calculating odds, weighing options. Finally, he closed the laptop. You have 24 hours to consider our original offer, Dr. Webb. After that, we move to more direct solutions. He walked toward the door, then stopped. Selah, you should know that Emma asks about you constantly. She wants to come home. It would be unfortunate if circumstances prevented that reunion. After he left, Selah collapsed onto the couch beside me. I'm sorry, she said. I'm sorry for all of it. The lies, the recording, the manipulation. I never wanted any of this. Why didn't you tell me the truth from the beginning? Because I didn't know who you really were until 6 months ago. I thought you were just David Chen, boring compliance consultant. I thought I was just doing corporate espionage for insider trading. I didn't know about the witness protection, didn't know about the real stakes. When did you figure it out? When Asher started asking specific questions about federal investigation procedures, when he wanted details about your previous work experience, when he started talking about neutralizing threats instead of just gathering information. I pulled out my phone and turned it back on. Immediately, it started buzzing with missed calls and text messages from Santos. I have to call my handler, I said. Will they help us get Emma back? I looked at Selah, at the desperation in her eyes, at the hope she was trying not to show. I don't know, but I'm going to try. Because despite everything, despite the lies and manipulation and betrayal, she'd risked everything to protect me in the end. She'd built a case against the man who'd taken her daughter and threatened my life. Maybe that was worth fighting for. Maybe that was worth saving. Santos arrived with a full tactical team 40 minutes after my call. I watched through the window as black SUVs surrounded the house, federal agents taking positions around the perimeter. Whatever this had become, it was no longer a simple witness protection matter. Dr. Webb, Santos said as she entered the living room. She was a compact woman in her 40s, with graying hair and the kind of steady presence that came from years of handling dangerous situations. You've created quite a mess. Rebecca, this is Selah Merrick. She has evidence of a major securities fraud operation. Santos looked at Selah with undisguised suspicion. The same woman who compromised your location and recorded your private conversations for criminal purposes? The same woman who's been gathering evidence against Trevan Financial for 6 months, I said. She's been working undercover. Undercover for who? She's not federal law enforcement. Selah spoke for the first time since Santos arrived. I've been working for myself, to get my daughter back and to stop Asher from hurting anyone else. Your daughter, who's being held by the primary suspect in a securities fraud investigation? My daughter, who was taken from me through legal manipulation and custody fraud. My daughter, who's being used as leverage to force my cooperation in criminal activities. Santos sat down across from us, her expression unreadable. Show me what you have. Selah pulled out her laptop and began displaying the evidence she'd gathered. Bank transfer records showing the movement of $40 million through shell companies. Recorded conversations detailing insider trading strategies. Email chains discussing the manipulation of pharmaceutical stock prices based on advanced knowledge of federal investigations. This is substantial, Santos admitted after reviewing the materials. But it doesn't change the fact that you've been actively participating in criminal conspiracy for 3 years. Under duress. They took my daughter. You signed custody papers voluntarily. After they threatened to destroy my career and ensure I never saw Emma again if I didn't cooperate. After they offered me a substantial financial settlement that I needed to pay for my mother's cancer treatment. After they promised I'd have regular visitation rights that they immediately violated. Santos looked at me. And you want us to help her why exactly? Because she saved my life. Because she risked everything to gather this evidence. Because her daughter is an innocent child being used as a pawn in a criminal conspiracy. Because you're still emotionally compromised by your relationship with her. The accusation stung because it was partially true. Despite everything, despite the betrayal and manipulation, I still felt something for Selah. Maybe it was just the memory of what I'd thought we had, or maybe it was admiration for the courage it had taken to turn against Asher's organization. Maybe I am compromised, I said, but that doesn't change the fact that she's right. Trevan Financial is running a major securities fraud operation, and they're using witness intimidation and custody manipulation to maintain control over their assets. Santos's phone buzzed. She answered it, listened for a moment, then hung up. That was my supervisor. Trevan Financial just filed a federal lawsuit claiming that Selah Merrick stole proprietary trading algorithms and client information. They're seeking immediate injunctive relief and criminal prosecution. They're trying to discredit her evidence, I said. They're trying to destroy me before I can testify, Selah added. Standard Trevan family strategy. When you can't win on facts, you attack credibility. There's more, Santos continued. 3 Meridian executives escaped from federal custody this morning. We believe Trevan Financial provided logistical support for the escape. The scope of the conspiracy was expanding beyond anything I'd imagined. This wasn't just insider trading anymore. This was active obstruction of justice, witness intimidation, and now facilitating federal prisoner escapes. Where's Emma? I asked. Unknown. Trevan family estate in Connecticut is empty. Private security claims the family is traveling but won't provide details. Selah's face went pale. They've moved her. They know I'm cooperating with federal authorities, so they've hidden her somewhere I can't find her. We'll locate the child, Santos said. But first, we need to secure both of you. Trevan Financial has substantial resources and obvious motivation to prevent your testimony. I'm not going anywhere until we find Emma, Selah said. That's not your decision. You're both material witnesses in a federal investigation. You're coming into protective custody whether you cooperate or not. Before anyone could respond, Santos's radio crackled with urgent chatter. Multiple vehicles approaching from the south, armed personnel visible. Santos drew her weapon and moved to the window. How many people know about this location? Just Asher, Selah said, and whoever he's working with. Then we're compromised. Again. Santos spoke into her radio. All units, prepare for defensive positions, protect the witnesses. Through the window, I could see vehicles moving up the access road toward the house. Black SUVs, just like the federal vehicles, but moving with different tactics. More aggressive, less concerned with stealth. Back door, Santos said. Now. We moved through the house toward the rear exit, but Santos's radio crackled again. Rear approach blocked, multiple shooters in position. We were trapped. Santos positioned herself by the front window, weapon ready. Dr. Webb, take Selah to the basement. Stay there until I give you the all clear. What about Emma? Selah asked. What about staying alive long enough to find her? Santos replied. The basement was unfinished, concrete walls and exposed beams. A safe room, essentially, designed for exactly this kind of situation. Selah and I crouched behind a concrete support column while gunfire erupted above us. "This is my fault," Selah said. "I should have found another way." "You did what you had to do to protect your daughter. I put you in danger. I put federal agents in danger, all because I couldn't stand up to Asher 3 years ago." "You were protecting your child. That's not weakness. That's courage." The gunfire intensified, then suddenly stopped. Santos's voice came through my phone. "Suspects in custody. All clear." We emerged from the basement to find the living room full of federal agents and 3 men in handcuffs. Asher wasn't among them. "Where's Trevan?" Santos asked one of the suspects. "Don't know. He sent us to retrieve the woman and the witness. Didn't say where he was going." Santos looked at Selah. "He's running, which means he's desperate, which means your daughter could be in immediate danger." "We have to find her," Selah said. "We will. But first, you're both going into secure custody. No arguments, no negotiations. This has escalated beyond witness protection into active federal fugitive pursuit." As federal agents prepared to transport us to a secure facility, Selah grabbed my arm. "The engagement ring," she said. "You still have it." I'd forgotten about the ring in my pocket, forgotten about the proposal I'd planned, forgotten about the life I'd thought we were building together. Why does that matter now? Because despite everything, despite all the lies and manipulation, what I felt for you was real. The recordings were business, but the relationship was personal. I fell in love with David Chen, even though I knew he wasn't really who you were. And now I want to fall in love with Marcus Webb. If we survive this, if we find Emma, if there's anything left to build from the wreckage. I looked at the ring, at the symbol of a future I'd thought was lost. Maybe it wasn't too late. Maybe there was still something worth fighting for. Maybe the real proposal would come after we'd saved her daughter and stopped the people who'd tried to destroy us both. But first, we had to survive the next 24 hours. The secure facility was a nondescript office building in downtown Detroit, chosen specifically because it looked like any other corporate headquarters. Selah and I spent 18 hours in adjacent conference rooms, giving detailed statements to federal prosecutors while tactical teams tracked down leads on Emma's location. Santos found us at dawn with news. We located Trevan. He's at a private airfield outside Grand Rapids with a chartered jet fueled for international departure. Our surveillance confirms a young girl matching Emma's description is with him. "He's running," Selah said. "He's desperate. The securities fraud case is solid. The witness intimidation charges are solid. And now we have him on kidnapping. He's looking at life in federal prison if we take him alive." The implication was clear. Asher had nothing left to lose, which made him exponentially more dangerous. "What's the plan?" I asked. "Federal tactical team surrounds the airfield. We negotiate for the child's release. Trevan surrenders peacefully or we take him by force." "And if he threatens to hurt Emma?" Santos didn't answer immediately. Finally, "We do everything possible to ensure the child's safety." It wasn't the reassurance Selah was looking for. Her face went white. "I need to be there," she said. "Absolutely not. You're a civilian with no tactical training and obvious emotional investment. You'd be a liability." "I'm her mother. If Asher sees me, if he knows I'm there, maybe he'll be more willing to negotiate. Or maybe he'll use you as additional leverage. Maybe he'll threaten to hurt both you and your daughter unless we let him escape." I understood Santos's position, but I also understood Selah's desperation. 18 hours of not knowing if her daughter was safe, 18 hours of imagining worst-case scenarios, 18 hours of feeling helpless while federal agents made decisions about her child's life. "Let me go with the tactical team," I said. "Dr. Webb, you're also a civilian with no tactical training. But I'm not emotionally compromised by the child, and Asher specifically wants me. Maybe I can draw his attention away from Emma long enough for your team to act." "You're suggesting we use you as bait?" "I'm suggesting we give him what he wants. A chance to negotiate directly with me. A chance to make his original deal." Selah stared at me. "You can't seriously be considering testifying falsely against Meridian. I'm considering doing whatever it takes to get your daughter back safely." Santos studied both of us. "The federal prosecutors won't authorize false testimony, even to save a hostage. They don't have to authorize it. They just have to let Asher think I'm willing to consider it." An hour later, we were in a convoy of federal vehicles heading toward Grand Rapids. Selah had convinced Santos to let her come, but only as far as the command post. She wouldn't be anywhere near the actual confrontation. The airfield was small and private, the kind of place wealthy people used to avoid commercial airport security. Asher's jet sat on the tarmac, engines running, ready for immediate departure. Through binoculars, I could see him pacing near the aircraft stairs. "Where's the girl?" Santos asked the surveillance team. Inside the plane. We've seen movement in the windows, but no clear visual confirmation. Santos handed me a radio earpiece. You'll be in constant communication with the tactical team. If the situation deteriorates, you follow their instructions without question. Understood. Dr. Webb. She grabbed my arm as I started toward the airfield. This isn't about heroics. This isn't about redemption. This is about getting a 4-year-old girl back to her mother safely. Don't let your emotions override your judgment. I walked across the tarmac toward Asher's plane, hands visible, moving slowly. He saw me coming and stopped pacing. Dr. Marcus Webb, he called out when I was 50 feet away. I was beginning to think you wouldn't show. Let me see Emma. Let me confirm she's safe. She's fine. Scared, but fine. She keeps asking for her mother. Then let her go. This is between you and me. This is between me and $40 million in securities fraud charges. Emma is just insurance. What do you want? Same thing I wanted yesterday. You recant your testimony against Meridian. You admit you fabricated evidence. You destroy the federal case and restore the stock price. And in exchange? Emma goes home to her mother. You get a new identity and relocation assistance. Selah gets full custody and enough money to disappear permanently. How do I know you'll honor the agreement? How do I know you'll honor yours? We stared at each other across 50 feet of concrete. Behind him, I could see movement in the plane's windows. A small face appeared briefly, then disappeared. Let me talk to her, I said. No. Then bring her to the door. Let me see that she's unharmed. Asher considered this, then walked up the stairs into the plane. A moment later, he reappeared with Emma. She was small for 4 years old, with Selah's blonde hair and bright blue eyes. She wore a pink winter coat and clutched a stuffed animal. When she saw me, she waved. Hi, she called out. Are you here to take me to Mommy? The innocence in her voice was heartbreaking. She had no idea she was being used as a hostage, no understanding of the criminal conspiracy that had separated her from her mother. Soon, I called back. Very soon. Asher pulled her back inside the plane, then returned to the stairs. Satisfied? Let her go, Asher. She's an innocent child. She's leverage, the only thing preventing federal agents from storming this plane and arresting me. They're not going to storm the plane while she's inside. Exactly. Which gives me time to reach international airspace. Which gives me time to disappear permanently. With a kidnapped child? That's not disappearing. That's guaranteeing a lifetime of federal pursuit. Emma isn't kidnapped. I'm her legal guardian. I have every right to travel with her. Not when you're fleeing federal prosecution, not when you're using her as a human shield. Santos's voice crackled in my earpiece. Thermal imaging shows 2 people in the plane, adult male and small child. No other passengers or crew. I keyed my radio. Can you take the shot? Negative. Too much risk to the child. Asher was watching me carefully. Who are you talking to, Dr. Webb? Federal agents, they have the airfield surrounded. I assumed as much, but they won't risk harming Emma to capture me. You're right, but they also won't let you leave with her. Then we have a stalemate. No, we have a negotiation. What do you really want, Asher? Money, freedom, revenge? I want my family's business restored. I want the securities fraud charges dropped. I want Selah to honor her original custody agreement. Selah will never voluntarily give up Emma again. Then she'll lose her involuntarily. There are countries without extradition treaties, Dr. Webb. Countries where American custody orders don't matter. The threat was clear. If he escaped with Emma, Selah would never see her daughter again. There's another option, I said. I'm listening. You let Emma go. You surrender to federal authorities. In exchange, I testify that Selah was an unwilling participant in your conspiracy. I provide evidence that she was coerced through threats to her daughter. She gets immunity and full custody. And what do I get? You get to see Emma grow up. Maybe not as her guardian, maybe not even as a regular presence in her life, but you get to know she's safe and happy with her mother. That's not much of a deal for me. It's better than spending life in federal prison while Emma grows up thinking her father is a criminal who kidnapped her. Asher was quiet for a long moment, considering the options. Finally, he spoke. You have 5 minutes to bring Selah here. I want to hear her agree to reasonable visitation rights. I want to hear her promise that Emma will know who her father is. Santos's voice in my earpiece. Negative. We don't put additional civilians at risk. I keyed my radio. He's negotiating. This might be our best chance. Dr. Webb, you're not authorized to make deals with federal fugitives. I'm not making deals. I'm facilitating surrender. 10 minutes later, Selah walked across the tarmac toward the plane. She moved slowly, hands visible, tears streaming down her face. "Emma," she called out. "Mommy's here, baby." The little girl appeared in the plane's doorway again. "Mommy, Mommy, I missed you." "I missed you too, sweetheart. So much." Asher stepped beside Emma, his hand on her shoulder. "Selah, I want your word. Reasonable visitation. Emma knows who her father is. No attempts to disappear or relocate without notification." "You kidnapped our daughter, Asher. You used her as a hostage. You threatened to take her out of the country permanently." "I protected her from a dangerous situation. I ensured her safety while you cooperated with federal authorities who wanted to destroy our family's business." "Our family's criminal business?" "Our family's legitimate investment firm that happened to be very successful at predicting market movements." They stared at each other across 20 feet of tarmac, 4 years of custody battles and manipulation and threats hanging between them. Finally, Selah spoke. "If you let her come home with me today, if you surrender peacefully, I'll agree to supervised visitation. 1 day a month, with a social worker present until she's old enough to decide for herself. Unsupervised visitation, 2 days a month. Supervised, 1 day a month. And you plead guilty to the securities fraud charges." "I plead to reduce charges. Misdemeanor securities violations. No jail time." "That's not my decision to make." Santos's voice in my earpiece. "Federal prosecutors are willing to consider reduced charges in exchange for cooperation and peaceful surrender." I relayed the message to Asher. "Cooperation meaning what exactly?" "Full disclosure of the insider trading operation. Names, dates, amounts, methods. Complete cooperation in prosecuting other participants." Asher looked at Emma, who was getting restless and wanted to run to her mother. "Daddy, can I go see Mommy now?" she asked. "Soon, sweetheart. Daddy just needs to finish talking to the grown-ups." "I want to go home with Mommy." "I know you do." He looked at Selah, then at me, then at the federal agents positioned around the airfield. "If I surrender, if I cooperate fully, Emma gets to go home with Selah today?" "Today," Santos confirmed through my earpiece. "And I get visitation rights?" "Supervised visitation, pending family court approval," Selah said. "And the securities charges get reduced to misdemeanors?" "Pending your full cooperation and the federal prosecutor's discretion," I said. Asher knelt down beside Emma. "Sweetheart, you're going to go home with Mommy now. Daddy has to go away for a while, but I'll see you again soon." "Where are you going, Daddy?" "I have to go talk to some people about work, but Mommy will take good care of you." He kissed her forehead, then stood up. "Emma, run to Mommy." The little girl ran down the stairs and across the tarmac into Selah's arms. Mother and daughter collapsed together on the concrete, crying and laughing and holding each other tight. Asher walked down the stairs with his hands raised. "I surrender to federal authorities," he called out. Santos and her tactical team moved in to take him into custody. I stood there watching Selah hold her daughter, watching 4 years of separation and manipulation and fear finally come to an end. The engagement ring was still in my pocket. Maybe it was time to find out if there was still a future worth proposing. The federal courthouse in Detroit was packed for Asher Trevan's sentencing. He'd pled guilty to reduce securities fraud charges in exchange for his cooperation in dismantling the insider trading network. 18 months in federal prison, 5 years probation, complete restitution to defrauded investors. Selah sat in the gallery with Emma, who was now 5 and starting kindergarten in the fall. The supervised visitation arrangement was working, though Emma still asked difficult questions about why Daddy had to live in a special place and could only visit once a month. I was no longer Dr. Marcus Webb or David Chen. The federal prosecutors had agreed to restore my original identity in exchange for my testimony against the Trevan organization. I was myself again, for the first time in 3 years. After the sentencing, Selah and I walked through downtown Detroit while Emma played in a small park. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now you raise your daughter. Now I figure out what to do with my life now that I can be myself again." "Any ideas?" "A few. There's a pharmaceutical consulting firm in Chicago that's interested in hiring someone with my background. Clean work, legitimate clients, no federal investigations required." "Chicago's not that far from here." "No, it's not." We watched Emma climb on the playground equipment, fearless and happy in the way that only children can be after surviving trauma they don't fully understand. "I never thanked you," Selah said. "For what?" "For risking your life to help me get her back. For walking into that airfield knowing it could have been a trap. For believing that I was worth saving despite everything I'd done." "You saved yourself. You gathered the evidence, you made the recordings, you built the case that brought down Trevan Financial. I just helped with the final confrontation." "We made a good team." "We did." I pulled the engagement ring out of my pocket, the same ring I'd carried for 6 months through federal custody and witness testimony and the slow process of rebuilding our lives. I have something that belongs to you, I said. That belongs to me? I bought it for Selah Merrick, who was dating David Chen, but those people don't exist anymore. I'm Marcus Webb again. You're a single mother with full custody of your daughter and a new job at a legitimate financial firm. We're different people now. Are we? I think so. I think we're who we always were. Underneath all the lies and manipulation and federal protection, I think we're finally free to find out who we really are together. I held out the ring. So, Selah Merrick, would you like to start over? Would you like to see if Marcus Webb and the real you can build something honest and real and permanent? She looked at the ring, then at Emma, then at me. Are you proposing? I'm proposing that we try again. I'm proposing that we see if love can survive truth. I'm proposing that we find out if two people who've been through hell together can build a life worth living. And if Emma doesn't approve of her mother dating again, then we wait until she does. Then we take it slow and let her get comfortable with the idea. Then we build a family instead of just a relationship. Selah smiled, the first genuinely happy smile I'd seen from her since before Christmas. Yes, she said, to all of it. To starting over, to taking it slow, to building something real. I slipped the ring onto her finger. So what now? She asked. Now we go tell Emma that Mommy has a new friend who'd like to take both of you to dinner? And after that? After that, we figure it out one day at a time. We walked toward the playground where Emma was waiting, toward the beginning of something that might actually last, toward a future built on truth instead of lies, toward home.